All right. For Movember, it's day 26. What I'm going to do tonight is a book that I refer a lot of men to that suffer from sex addiction and have acted out and have caused a lot of pain and distress in their relationships. This book by Robert Weiss, or Robert Weiss, depending on what side of the world you're on, Out of the Doghouse. A step-by-step relationship saving guide for men caught cheating. So, Robert certainly put it together for men, not just that would qualify with the criteria of sex addiction, but for men that have acted out with infidelity and have caused a betrayal trauma in their relationship. So tonight, what I just wanted to read was one of the most asked questions that happens in therapy is, look, should I stay or should I go? It's the most difficult of times to ask this question because there's the betrayal trauma, and largely there's been a discovery trauma before then. Not a lot of men choose to go in and account for themselves. They are usually discovered, and then there's more betrayal trauma when they're found out. There's usually a lot of gaslighting. So their partner, the literature that supports, either by Barbara Steffens or by Stephanie Carnes or Vicky Tidwell-Palmer, to name three authors that write about betrayal trauma, they now largely have the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of them do. So they're offline. They're not the wife or husband that they were. And now, as you're trying to get into recovery, well, they're left to find themselves again. And when they look at you, you are the trigger for the trauma. So making the timing of making the decision is hard. But if you really are at a dilemma and asking yourself these questions, here are some of the things that Rob says that you should look for. 1. Do you enjoy spending time with her? If you have come to genuinely dislike or no longer appreciate your spouse as a person, that's an obvious red flag. After all, one of the primary reasons for being in a long-term romantic partnership is that it's fun and enjoyable. If you find that you dread spending time with your significant other, if being with her feels like a chore, then you may lack the solid foundation that is necessary for rebuilding the relationship. 2. Do you trust her? Trust is a key element in a healthy relationship. If two people trust each other, if they know they have each other's backs no matter what, that's a solid relationship foundation. Of course, you've almost certainly decimated your partner's trust in you by cheating on her, and it will take a long time and a lot of concerted effort to earn that trust back. So here the question, I just want to account for this. Of course, you've almost certainly decimated your partner's trust in you by cheating on her, and it will take a long time and a lot of concerted effort to earn that trust back. So the question here really is whether you still trust her to be there for you. If you do, that's worth a lot. How many people in this world would you trust with your home, your finances, your kids, your feelings, and everything else that's important in your life? 3. Do you play well together? If you and your mate have at least a few common interests, hobbies, and activities that you can enjoy together, that's a strong indicator of a relationship worth saving, especially if those interests are in an important area of life for one or both of you. This means that you and your mate find each other's activities, recreational pursuits, and anecdotes fun and entertaining, or at least not too boring. Then the two of you probably enjoy being together. However, if one of you feels trapped and dragged along on an uninteresting ride, that bodes poorly for your long-term relationship health. This does not mean that you have to love all of her interests, nor she yours. If her passion for knitting puts you to sleep, so be it, but as long as you two have at least a few interests that you both enjoy. 4. Do you share core values and beliefs? You and your mate are not going to agree on every little thing, nor should you. But to make a relationship work in the long haul, you need at least a little common ground regarding things like religion, politics, finances, education, and raising kids. If you have this in your relationship, then you have a solid foundation upon which you can rebuild. Conversely, your relationship potential is significantly diminished if one of you feels forced into a certain belief system or way of living. accepting it only to make the other person happy or to avoid rejection and abandonment. 5. Do you have kids? Children are not the only reason to stay in a relationship, but they are a darn good one. After all, no matter how much you struggle with your spouse, you're going to love your children and you'll always keep their welfare in mind. So, you need to consider the ways in which they will be affected if you and your spouse separate. You should also keep in mind the fact that your ex will probably get at least half-time custody if you split up, so you won't see them nearly as often, which is distressing for everybody. If the kids are hers from a previous relationship, you might not see them at all. In short, breaking up a family is a significantly more profound decision than splitting up a couple, because the lives and futures of several people, some of whom may be too young to fend for themselves, are at stake. Do you or your spouse usually find a way to resolve disagreements? That's number 6. In any intimate relationship, conflict is inevitable. It is also useful because it helps us to define our boundaries. In healthy relationships, arguments and disagreements are actually growth opportunities, chances to learn patience, empathy, and new ways of thinking and relating. However, when a relationship is not so healthy, even the smallest issue can become a smouldering resentment, usually tied to another, much deeper and more enduring concerns. So, even when you and your spouse are unable to agree, if you can at least amicably disagree most of the time, then you probably have something worth saving. 7. Are you free to be your own man? As stated above, good relationships are built on commonality, but too much closeness and agreement can feel smothering and enmeshed for both of you. If you are uncomfortable with or discouraged from having your own interests, friends, and activities, not including your cheating, then you may be in an excessively entangled, fear-based relationship that's far from ideal. The best relationships involve separate people with separate identities, with each person free to think and act as he or she sees fit, within certain mutually agreed on limits. 8. Do you respect each other? If you and your partner each bring something special and meaningful to the relationship, then it's much easier to respect the other's opinions, interests, beliefs, and contributions. If, however, the relationship is drastically unequal and one person running the show at all times, you will probably continue to struggle. In a healthy relationship, each person values and respects the other exactly as he or she truly is. This is not to say there can't be an imbalance of power in certain areas. For instance, you might be the primary breadwinner while your partner takes charge of the house and the kids. There is nothing wrong with this arrangement as long as neither of you feels used or put upon or exploited or unappreciated, and the lines of communication are open regarding growth and change. 9. Do you still enjoy sex with her? You probably are well past the puppy love stage when you first started dating and having sex, no longer feeling the same type of electric shock with your wife that you get when you spot a hot new woman. So the question here is not about crazy, wild, instant, hard hotness every time you look at your spouse. It's about whether you feel a continuing spark of sexual attraction to her, and if you enjoy the physical intimacy that you still have with her or that you were having until she found out about your cheating. 10. Does she support you emotionally? If you think that your mate is not there for you when the going gets tough, or that she expresses constant disagreement, dismissal, negativity, criticism, control, or indifference towards your thoughts, beliefs, goals, desires, and activities, aside from your sexual infidelity, that's not a great indicator of a long-term relationship well-being. If, however, she works to help you succeed and leaves you feeling as if you consistently have someone in your corner cheering for you, then your relationship is much more likely to survive. 11. Does your relationship roll with the punches? It is important for both of you and your significant other to understand that a relationship is not stagnant. If growth occurs or is sought, or both parties accept and even cheer that, then there is a great foundation on which to rebuild. Conversely, the more resistance to change there is, the tougher it will be to heal your relationship, because a major part of the healing process involves making changes. 12. Are you in a relationship? 12. Are your relationship expectations realistic? No personal relationship is perfect. Either you or your spouse consistently expects the other to look and act. If either you or your spouse consistently expects the other to look or act in a certain way, then disappointment is inevitable. In a healthy relationship, both partners must accept and respect each other, warts and all. No person can consistently live up to another person's fantasy of perfection, and expecting someone to do so is a recipe for disappointment, resentment, pain, and failure. 13. Have you done this before? Do you have a history of ending relationships because of your cheating? If so, no matter how you feel about your significant other, it's probably time to take a long, hard look at your thoughts and behaviours regarding long-term commitment. If the common denominator in your failed relationships is you, the happiness that you seek will never be found by simply moving on to someone new. So you might want to stick with your current relationship while you make changes within yourself. If you do, you may find that you end up with something truly special. And 14, are you both invested in saving the relationship? It takes two to tango. If you want to keep your relationship alive, but your mate seems determined to end it, there is little you can do about that. If your desire to save your relationship is one-sided, then really there is really no relationship to save. In such cases, the best you can do is accept this fact, grieve, and learn from your mistakes. Many women say that they are done in the heat of the moment, but don't really mean it. If you think this might be the case with your spouse, then don't give up. But if she really does seem finished, you may need to just back away and move on. So, that was just a few tips out of this book by Robert Weiss. If you have suffered in relationship with infidelity and you're a recovering addict, I can't recommend Robert's books more highly enough. He has a whole lot of books just on sex addiction alone. His book, Sex Addiction 101, and the workbook that goes with that are a great resource to therapists and addicts. His books around cruise control for gay men with sex addiction is the best book on the subject ever written. His book, Always Turned On, about technology and sexuality, is the best book on that subject ever written. And he's just got a brand new book out, which I think here is on my bookshelf. Maybe I've put it back up on the bookshelf, called Codependence. And it's a book, I might as well get them all out while I'm here. Always Turned On, Cruise Control. Sex Addiction 101's up there somewhere, but yeah, his new book, Codependence, is really looking at the roles of families and loved ones with people with addiction. But they're those two books, Cruise Control and Always Turned On, are the two best books on cyber addiction and sex with gay men, sex addiction and the gay community. So this is just a Movember talk. Again, I'm just picking little subjects that come up in the work that I do. Day 26 Movember will be coming to an end. If you've got any money to donate to the mustache I still affectionately call the ridiculous, please do. This is just raising awareness around men's health and suicide and the way that we don't really look after each other, and weren't certainly socialized to be kind and compassionate. So yeah, look out for Rob Weiss and lots of great content on YouTube. He's got a great website. I'll put that in the links to this video, and I look forward to hopefully you tuning in and seeing something else. So remember to be gentle with your heart, and I hope to see you on the recovery road somewhere soon. Bye.